Hello, and welcome to Social Media 101 for businesses in Module 3. This module is all about creating your content strategy. So, content is everything on social media. Whatever you post, pictures, text, videos, lives, all of these things is just content. And you need to have a plan to make it work for your business. So what we are going to be covering in this module is one important thing you must understand before creating the content for social media. What is conversational marketing and why is it important? And what are the different types of content that people like on social media? Because you need to know that so that you can make it work for your business and serve your audience. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is conversations. Social media is all about the content, the posts and the photos, your text and videos, and this is the new way of marketing. And instead of just putting an ad in the paper or putting it on billboard, this is the way we market in the modern age through the content. An important part of that content that people often forget, like most businesses often forget, is that social media is all about being social. I know it's obvious. I know it sounds obvious, but a lot of businesses forget that. And, because they just believe that if they just say things about their product and their business and they tell things to their audience, that would be enough. But as you focus on making your social media content more effective, you need to always keep reminding yourself that social media is all about having those conversations, because the more conversations you have with your audience, the better relationship you will have, and you will see engagement rising and boosting your exposure and your sales in that process. So it could be just simple message like, a pizza shop saying, today pizza and chocolate cake is looking great for a Friday night in. What's your favorite pizza to eat on a movie night? You would have seen these kind of posts on social media and you would have thought that, what's the purpose? But it's all about engaging their audience. So it's all about engaging their audience in having those simple conversation, because the new age marketing is all about what the phrase is known as conversational marketing. So I have a question for you, right? If you think about all kind of highest converting sales medium of all time, TV, radio, your mobile, your webinars and everything, think about all the different sales media out there. Which one would you think that converts the highest? So just take a guess. And my guess is that you would have thought face to face. It is just such a powerful way to build that know, like, and trust with someone new who doesn't know anything about you. But if you dig in deep, why that is effective, it's all about having a conversation with the other person. So the newest and the oldest idea of conversational marketing still works. It's just that we are doing it through a different medium of social media instead of face-to-face. So you may not have heard, or you may have heard, now you know it. It's all about conversational marketing, and this is where it is at. So the other important thing to remember is that having a conversation doesn't mean shouting at your audience or just telling them about what you have to offer. It is about having conversation like a human being. So the channels have changed, but the need is still the same. So you might be having a conversation through social media, but the need is same. The need for the connection to have a conversation like a human being, not like a brand, a faceless brand or a company shouting at them. So very important to keep that in mind. And this is where most businesses trip up as well, because they believe they have this subconscious huge focus on bringing in, as many people as possible in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort, which doesn't really allow them to have focus on having deep and meaningful conversation with their audience. So just keep that in mind and catch yourself when you're doing that. And in doing that, you lose the sight of the most important thing, which is that the whole reason you're putting this content out is to have relationship with your customer, because those relationships become potential customers eventually, or what we call them as leads. People who are potentially interested in what your business has to offer, and eventually they become real people. So social media allows you to get in front of a large number of people, sure, for a teeny bit of money, but you have to remember to really present your company and your brand as someone who is very close to being a human, and having those conversations makes you, creates that perception, creates that bonding with your audience. Because having more conversations on social media turns to leads. Those leads become deeper relationships, and those relationships eventually become sales. So it's important that when people are craving connection on social media, and the companies that create those authentic connections with their customers will thrive. But it is becoming harder than ever to do that, to have those meaningful conversations. So your conversations or your content has to be meaningful, has to be relevant, and has to be a quality conversation that people pay attention to, which means those conversations or your content has to be quality content, which is what we are going to be learning today. So everything is content. I want you to remember this, like whatever you're posting, your post, your short post, your long post, your videos, or whatever, everything is content on social media. So it could be like, you're running a campaign, you're running a product launch, or you're just, simply building those connections. Whatever you're using to post and, display on social media is all considered content. So what are the different types of content that people like on social media? Let's dig into that. So the number one is the repurposed content. So think about the variety of content that you might already be producing, and what type of content is working well on other channels. So there are a couple of different content types that we are looking here. It could be your blogs, it could be your Facebook posts that have done really well that you could repurpose and post it to other social media channels. So we touched on it in module 2. You could create, a Facebook post, and if it did really well, you could use that on LinkedIn or Instagram. And your emails, like, you might be writing regular emails to your audience, so that could be repurposed onto social media. You could use snippets of those emails and use them as 5 different posts on Facebook or any other social media. Your marketing collateral, like that might have really good information, really good testimonials about your company, about your brand from your customers. So don't forget to use all of that in creating the content, because that's all really meaningful content that you already have. And if something works really well on one channel, whether it is blog or your Facebook post, that exact same content can fit into other channels as well. Number 2 is a really important one, asking customers questions. So even if you just took this one strategy, like answering your customers' questions, you can create some of the best content just by responding to someone who has had a really great question, and you might have answered it. Your customer service team might be answering that question day in, day out. You're just not paying attention to those areas. They could be questions that your customers are asking upfront, or they could be questions that your customers want to ask you, but they're not asking it. So you really have to dig deep as to what are those questions that they're just silently asking in their heads and not really having the courage to ask someone in your team or your business. Like they might not be even reaching out with those questions. List of those questions can be just such a good content strategy, you can develop content around answering those questions even before your customers have had a chance to ask them. So this really tells them that you're onto it. They really understand their needs. They feel seen and they feel heard. And it's a really powerful strategy to create meaningful content on social media. So some of the other things you can refer to in this category can be just frequently asked questions. You might have that section on your website. So refer to that, and you can create, like, use one question at a time and create posts around that. What do they really ask about your industry and your business? Like, are there any hesitations? Do they have like a preconceived notion about your industry or your business? You could answer those type of things up front. What have been the complaints in the past from different customers and clients? You could address them up front and really take a proactive approach to developing that content and answering those type of things, like even before they are really asking in real life. The next one is called shares and reshares. Now, this can be sharing your old content. So you might have had like a library of different kind of contents that you've already shared on social media, but you have forgotten about it. A post that did really, really well a year ago, you can reshare that post again, because there are chances that a lot of people would not have seen it. Now you have new people, new eyeballs looking at that content. So that's always a really good strategy. So resharing the high performing content, whether it is yours or related to your brand content, can be a really good way to create new kind of posts on a regular basis. So you can take someone else's content as well, but just don't claim it as your own, of course. Give them the credit, but you can take someone else's content that your audience will find useful. The other thing you can do is, again, resharing other people's blogs or podcasts that your audience will really value, that is aligned with the needs of your audience and people. Sharing your lives as well. Like, you might have done a live on your Facebook page, and you can share those lives in your group, in other groups that, allow you to do that, on your personal profile, if that's not a problem for you. So, you can use all of those content that you have already shared in some way or the other, or other people have shared it, and you can use that again after a period of time. So you do need to go back and just like just reshare that, because there is likelihood that people would have never seen it, and like your audience might have grown, so there likelihood that there are more new people in your audience who would really appreciate the similar content. The fourth category of creating the content is about inspirational, entertaining content. So a strong social media strategy connects the brand with their consumers, and a key way to do this is through creating inspirational content. Your followers will only engage with your content that they feel super personally connected to or inspired by to take an action. So you want your brand personality to really shine through this kind of content. Through every single post that you do should have kind of like your own unique stamp. Maybe it's your photos, your visual marketing should stand out, and your text, all kind of marketing that you do on social media should have that kind of unique stamp. So it could be your product announcements, it could be your company updates. Those are really important things. But really the integration of beautiful content that makes your brand relatable, that makes your brand human in your customers' eyes, that would be this kind of content, like, that is inspirational, that is entertaining. There could be ideas. They could be quotes, they could be your company's mission related things, like, things that you are passionate about, things that you are doing good in the world, all the good deeds that your business might be doing. This is an important type of category to build that kind of emotional relationship with your customers. The fifth and my most favorite type of the content is all about the stories, because stories is the best type of content that lingers long past the initial engagement and really satisfies your customers' need for an ongoing stimulation. Whether it is telling a series of universally relatable stories or really enabling your audience to process and apply greater kind of emotional intelligence to making some decisions around your brand, creating content that speaks to their individual motivations and unique situations is such a powerful way to build that trust and relationship right from the start of their interactions with your brand on social media. And a great way to do this is through stories. Now, different types of stories that you can share are testimonials. So if you have user testimonials, like, share them as case studies, share them as social media snippets. What are your customers saying about your brand? Like, what kind of change they are having, what kind of transformations they're experiencing through the use of the product or the service from your business. Those are amazing stories to share on social media. Founder stories. So how did you create your company? What was the motivation around that? Like, why did the idea of even starting this business come about? People are keen to know who is the face behind this business and what that person is all about. So stories could be from your personal life, from your professional life, like, mission-driven stories. And I touched on it, but like personal stories are really important ones for people to see that you are an actual human being working in this business, and it's not like just a brand or a logo, but it's a real person who is talking to them through social media. So these are the important ways that you can create your content. So think about all of these 5 ways and, maybe go over this modular again and just jot down the ideas that come to you in these different categories, and then just map out like 30-day and plot one of the ideas on each day. That could be your first and very simple social media plan right there. In next module, in module 4, we are going to be covering all about engagement. Why do you need engagement in the first place? How to create a customer journey map that drives engagement, and how to create the content that drives engagement on social media. So I will see you in module 4.